Hello, everybody. I was gonna wait until I got somewhere a little bit slower this morning because this is a rainy, dreary, wet, slippery morning. Praise God. Still a beautiful day that the Lord hath made. So I figured it'd be a great time to talk about something called perspective. One thing each and every one of us is blessed with is a perspective. And for a lot of folks, might consider it what they're cursed with is perspective. I don't know. It's all about your perspective, get it? But the thing about perspectives and the fact that we all have them, based upon your age, and your gender, your race, your perspectives are going to be, completely different. I mean, case in point, you can have two people that are born and raised in the same house that grow up with some commonalities, but some very extreme and varying perspectives on life and the world. And there's a lot of different factors that go into that and that speak to that inform that reality about every one of us. And I say all this because, we're in a time where we're hearing so much about what's going on in the world, and it's creating, a lot of anxiety and a lot of, and everybody's, digging into their point, to their perspective, to their thoughts, to their viewpoints on life. And it's become very pronounced that there are massively different perspectives. And these perspectives are all valid to the people that have them, to each and every one of us. My perspective is valid to me, your perspective is valid to you. Now, there are a lot of different factors that create these perspectives, where we're born, how we're raised, what we eat, what we digest, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or don't. There's a lot of different factors that inform our perspectives. Now, I say all this to say the importance of understanding that everybody has a perspective comes to dealing with and communicating with people and being a part and being a service for the Lord. If you consider yourself a Christian, you are mandated to go out into all the nations and preach the gospel. That's the commission. Now, if you're not a Christian, you still have whatever perspectives inform you in your life, whatever they may be. But here's the reality. As long as you deal with people, it is imperative that you understand that you're dealing with varying perspectives. And the sooner you understand that, the better off you'll be when it comes to communicating with others. Because, we're in a time when everybody wants everybody else to see their perspective. Well, here's the reality. Some perspectives are so extremely polar opposite that it will actually take the investment of time between the two individuals to actually be able to discern each one's perspective. It takes time and the commitment of time, and you have to commit to one another to say, okay, let's commit to trying to understand each other's perspectives. That's a lot, but that's life. So I mean, the reality of it is this is what we're tasked with now. We're at a time now where a lot of people are just opting, well, I don't care enough to commit my time to you. And this is where we have the breakdown at. I'm going to keep my viewpoint and my perspective, and I'm not going to commit any time to you to hear yours. Well, now, that's a breakdown of civilization right there. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're dealing with other people that you continuously want to keep dealing with, have to deal with, must deal with, or what have you, you are obligated at that point to choose to commit the time to learning their perspectives. And if not, you're going to have nothing short of a lot of tribulation between you two, and you're not going to get anything done. And so the form of productivity that you're seeking to achieve between the two of you is never going to occur, ever. I mean, it just can't. I mean, you're not going to have two polar opposites constantly pulling in two different directions that's ever going to be able to produce any forward momentum toward a single goal or toward a series of goals. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You know, a team of horses doesn't, you know, you don't have a team in the front and a team in the back going two separate directions trying to get the cart to go somewhere. It doesn't work that way. You know, it's a team of horses that work in a team and they're all heading the same direction. You know, they're all you know, yoked together, and they're all, you know, heading the same direction. They're all guided in the same direction. You know, if one goes right, the other one has to go right. If one goes left, the other one has to go left. You know, and the only way that they can do that is to be placed in a position where they must cooperate to work together. Now, in order to do that as well, though, they have to actually be trained to do it, because you're not going to take, you know, just go out and pick two horses, you know, from, you know, extremely different environments, you know, raised completely different, you know, put them together and expect for them to just, you know, go in the direction, you know what I'm saying, accordingly. Okay, now put the reins in their mouth and just and your hands and the pits in their mouth and just go. It's not going to work that way. You know, they're going to have to, you know, have some kind of unanimity between them in order for them to work together, and that takes time. You know, you just don't just throw them together and off and away we go. You know, just like people. You know, we can't just, you know, get thrown in. Now, in extreme situations, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, two strangers can, you know, get some things done, you know. But that's when, you know, it's an extreme situation. They're only focused on that particular task, and they got no time to worry about whether the other one's got a perspective or not, you know, in life, you know. But those are extreme situations, and those are not sustainable. You can't sustain anything for any time like that. But back to perspectives, though. I'm so very interested and intrigued by perspectives because I study people. You know, I've always studied people. I studied people my whole life, and I continue to still study people. You know, and I find more and more and more as I deal with more people, you know, that the varying perspectives that they have that inform their lives is very intriguing to me. You know, you go all the way back to where their life began, you know, whether they were born, you know, in the inner city, you know, in poverty, or whether they were born in the inner city in affluence, whether they were born in rural America, you know, in poverty, or whether they were born in rural America, you know, in influence, you know, and affluence. So, you know, you have those varying degrees of individuals and those perspectives. Now, when you take these perspectives and you put them together, you know, in a world now that, you know, we are, you know, forced out of our areas to go do work, to go, you know, provide for, you know, ourselves and our families. You know, we're forced to go outside of our communities a lot of times in order to do that. You know, outside of our neighborhoods, outside of our, you know, environments, outside of our cultures a lot of times in order to do that. which that's progress. That's the way it is. This is our America, and that's the way that we've grown and managed to flourish. And it's important to understand that as a part of this country, it is imperative to have that globalized mindset and worldview, because we affect the world. So we don't have the luxury of saying, oh well, I'm not going to worry about what's going on anywhere else, I'm just going to worry about what's going on here. We don't have the luxury, because the way that this country has managed to flourish is the fact that we affect globally. We affect everywhere in the world. We affect. We got our hands, our fingers, and our we are everywhere. And that's the strength that this United States has. It's not. I mean, if we were just to stay within our within our coast and our borders, we would no longer be able to sustain the greatness that we have. And these are just facts. These are just facts. But that's for another conversation. But back to perspectives. It's important that we understand that we need to commit to one another the commitment of time in order to learn the other's perspectives if we choose to deal with one another. Period. One of the 7 habits of highly effective people is seek first to understand and to be understood. And that particular habit is a mighty powerful habit. Believe me when I tell you. I've been studying that one for, maybe about 16, 17 years now. And that particular habit in and of itself is very powerful, because that creates in me the need to seek to understand you before I formulate my thoughts on you, before I formulate my thoughts on or opinions or retorts or anything that I may have to say or think. Before I formulate any of those thoughts, it's important that I learn your perspective and your view first, without any preconceived visions on my own of who you are or what your situation is. And that has served me very well, and it continues to serve me very well. And I continue to elevate and cultivate it, because it's important to constantly grow forward with the important thing in mind, to seek and see what other people think, feel, look forward to, love, what drives them, before I conceive any thoughts of, okay, now how do I effectively help to serve this person, help to feed any life into them. And I found a lot of times, as much as I may have something to say about a lot of things, I found a lot of times the best things to do, and this is why it's important to listen to people, a lot of times the best things to do is just to listen. This one has been a hard one for me to learn, but I've learned the importance of it. And a lot of times, whereas I may have a lot of things I would love to say, it's important for me to not say nothing, or maybe to say one word, maybe just to say, one phrase, I love you, or nothing, or I understand, or nothing, and that comes from, actively, sincerely wanting to learn that person and learn from that person about them, and really. And I think back last year, we had a family friend that passed away, and I visited her in the hospital, and we had a very blessed conversation that was centered on her love for God and what she wanted for everybody else and the kingdom of God. And the visit really stood out to me because here we are in an age and time now when everybody wants to document everything, every conversation, take photos and selfies and everything. And it dawned on me in that visit that this interaction, this moment, this visual moment, that's only in my mind. That's only between me and her. God intended for this to be this memory that's not to be shared with everybody else. The visual, what it looks like, what it but the message of the visit is the only thing to be shared. And that's to glorify God in everything and to seek after Him and to make heaven our home. That's it. That's the only thing that was to come. That's why I shared it with everybody right now. But the visual, the memory of that moment, the visual, the intimate memory of that moment was only for me and her under God. And that's something that's lost in this day and age, is the appreciation of God's blessed memories and the engagement with one another, that personal engagement with one another. That's lost on a lot of levels, more and more and more now. But we have to really actively seek snatching those back, and the only way we can do that is by understanding that your perspective is valid to you as my perspective is to me, and that only way that we can even find common ground is to learn one another's perspectives. And it's a real truth, because I find, and I say all this to say, I come in contact with a lot of people who absolutely refuse to learn somebody else's perspective before they create their own preconceived notions of that person. And this is prejudice. The prejudging of. And that's just exactly what it is. But it happens, and that's more common than almost anything now. And that's what we have to really wake ourselves up to, and have self-actualization occurring within inside of us to say, oh, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. Let me change my course and learn somebody else's perspective before I, get the preconceived notion in my mind about who they are and what they're talking about and what they're about and what I think that they are. And what I think that they are. And once you start doing that and start to really unravel, and start to really talk and commit and start investing in people, you start to understand, oh, that's why you walk that way. That's why you talk that way. That's why you think that way. That's why you feel that way. Because this is how your life has been. This is where, life has taken you. We have, me and my wife, we have 4 children, and they have 4 different perspectives. Literally, 4 different perspectives. And I find that to be very, very interesting and intriguing. But they have 4 different perspectives, and it doesn't change the fact of how much they love each other and care for each other, even though they have 4 different perspectives on life. But I say all this to say, it's imperative that we commit to one another, the commitment of time to learn other people's perspectives, and if we intend to grow forward, people. God has purposed us all with a job and with a mandate. We all have the same mandate to go out into all the nations and preach the gospel, but the way we go about it is totally individualized to the person. But it is directional to his focus and his goals and to his word, and to glorify him. So we have to keep that in mind. But God bless you. I'll talk to you later.